From Inc.com, this is the Inc. Productivity Tip. Expert opinions, valuable insight, and helpful advice from today's top business coaches, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs. The World Cup kicks off tomorrow, and the U.S. men's national team will open with a match against Paraguay in Los Angeles. The players that you will not see on the field or on the bench got the news their services would not be needed via an email, and that caused some controversy. That's a warning to all types of leaders that the way a message is delivered can be just as important as the news itself. Leadership is judged by big decisions. Who gets hired? Who makes the roster? But how these decisions are communicated makes more of a difference than many leaders actually realize. And that's why the recent controversy surrounding U.S. men's national team coach Mauricio Pochettino is worth paying attention to, even if you're not a soccer fan. So, according to multiple reports, players learned that they had been cut from the final U.S. World Cup roster via email. The decision itself was not the cause of controversy. Coaches cut players all of the time, right? The reaction was because of the method. Now, whether leaders realize it or not, every difficult conversation sends two messages. One is the decision itself, and the second is what that decision conveys about the relationship. And it's that second message people tend to remember the most. Shortly after the news broke, players, commentators, and members of the media questioned whether a decision carrying that much emotional and professional significance should have been delivered through an email rather than a direct conversation. Third Factor's CEO Dane Jensen wrote in a LinkedIn post that when you are the leader, doing the hard things is your job. When you choose the path of least resistance in critical moments, you are not doing your job. The fact that it is hard and you choose to do it anyway is what demonstrates respect and gives you credibility. Pick up the phone. U.S. Captain Tyler Adams publicly acknowledged the disappointment surrounding how cuts were communicated, saying players naturally want difficult conversations handled directly rather than through impersonal channels. So the reaction revealed something that leaders often underestimate. People can accept bad news. What they struggle with is the feeling that they are not worth the time to receive it in person. When individuals invest years in an organization, a team, or a mission, they want to believe that their commitment mattered, even if the outcome doesn't go their way. That's why communication methods carry so much weight. People do not just evaluate the decision. They evaluate what the process says about their value to the organization. Now, sports is not the only place where communication methods have generated outsized backlash. Back in 2021, Better.com became a case study in leadership communication after CEO Vishal Garg laid off approximately 900 employees during a group Zoom call. The layoffs themselves were significant, but much of the public reaction focused on the delivery. The moment quickly became a national story and a cautionary tale for executives everywhere. Most recently, large-scale layoffs across the technology industry have sparked similar debates. Employees at several major companies, including Google, Amazon, and Meta, learned their fate through mass emails or automated notifications. While leaders often defend these decisions as necessary and efficient due to the scale of reductions, many employees describe the experience as cold and impersonal. The common thread was not disagreement about the business realities. It was the feeling that efficiency had been prioritized over humanity. A conversation may not change the outcome. A player still gets cut, an employee will still lose a promotion, departments will still get reorganized. But it changes how people feel about the organization afterward. These feelings do not stay isolated to the individual involved. Teams watch how leaders treat people during difficult moments, perhaps assuming that one day they may be on the receiving end of a similar decision. Although he faced significant backlash, Pochettino himself has defended his decision, saying, "When I was a player, when I didn't make the roster, I didn't want my coach to talk to me. The players who didn't make the roster, they don't want to hear me say, 'I apologize.' What are you going to say?" He went on to reiterate his commitment to the organization and all the players, saying, "I care. Do you know why I care? Because during the past 2 weeks, I didn't sleep. And today, still, I cannot enjoy the 26 guys that are in front of me because I am thinking of players that are out." Now, whether the criticisms of Pochettino are fair will continue to be debated by soccer fans. But what's clear is that leadership is never just about making decisions. It's about communicating them. Every choice a leader makes sends signals about what they value, how they view people, and what kind of culture they're building. Most leaders spend enormous amounts of time thinking about the decision itself. Far fewer spend enough time thinking about what the delivery of that decision communicates. But that's often the part that people remember. That's all for today. This expert opinion was written by Christopher Kaysen. For more expert opinions from today's top business coaches and thought leaders, go to Inc.com. Enjoy the start of the World Cup and your weekend, and come back next week for another helpful tip from Inc.